Thank you very much, Chairwoman Collins. I really appreciate your holding this hearing today, and Ranking Member Reed. As the Chairwoman mentioned, on December 18, 2017, Amtrak Cascades Train 501 derailed as it was crossing an I-5 overpass near DuPont, Washington. And that tragic accident killed 3 passengers and injured 70 people who were either on the train or in their vehicles on the road below. The images of that wreck were just haunting, and we know the NTSB investigation is ongoing. The preliminary report indicates that positive train control would have prevented this terrible accident. But this is, as you know, just the most recent case in which PTC would have prevented deaths and injuries. And it leads me to ask today how we, Congress and this administration, can do more and do everything we can to prevent future accidents and make sure families don't get that horrific phone call families in my state got. It is really critical that PTC is fully implemented by the 2018 deadline. So I am really deeply troubled with the Federal Railroads Administration assessment that shows 12 out of the 41 railroads and commuter railroads required to implement PTC are at risk of missing the December 2018 deadline and failing to qualify for an alternative schedule. Administrator Batory, I believe the administration is committed to achieving full PTC implementation, but I want to know specifically what you are doing to work with the railroads, with Amtrak, with commuter railroads to make sure they implement PTC. And you note in your written testimony that FRA can impose fines for missing the deadline, but the discussions on enforcement actions are still ongoing. We are less than 7 months away from this deadline. When will FRA make a decision so that railroads know there will be consequences for failures to meet that PTC deadline?
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Let me address the first part of your statement, which was the accident itself with Amtrak Train 501. It was a most disheartening experience that I have shared since my retirement from the railroad industry when I saw that devastation. When I started reading and learning more of the facts that were forthcoming, it was obvious that we had a human failure that day. Mm-hmm. PTC would have prevented that human failure because with PTC, it would have recognized that permanent speed restriction of 30 miles an hour, and that train would have slowed automatically had the engineer not done it himself. So, all that said, PTC would have prevented it. As far as what we are doing today and what we have done thus far with the railroads in trying to move the needle not among all 41 railroads, including the 12 that we've just identified that are at risk. In addition to the face-to-face meetings, we are now, in respect to their time, embarking on next week having individual lengthy conference calls to eliminate the travel with each of the 12 railroads, their leadership, to find out exactly what has been accomplished since their first quarter report, what needs to be accomplished in order to satisfy the prerequisites of 12/31/18, so we can ascertain what we can do to help foster and facilitate a successful resolve to their attempt of fulfilling their statutory prerequisites. We can't do the work for them, but we can certainly give support, insight, and suggestions. We intend to continue during third quarter and fourth quarter, after those calls are completed, to meet with those railroads individually, everybody that's at risk, face-to-face, not less than once a month. Now, you might ask yourself, what's going on during the rest of the month? There's tactical dialogue going on every day among our staff of 16 in Washington, along with the 80-some-odd railroad inspectors we have in the Signal Corps across the United States. The third item, insofar as violations and the associated penalties that come with those violations. So far, the FRA recently, for the first time, assessed violations and fines. Those violations that we assessed and associated fines were not that of the maximum amount. What I have advocated to the Secretary and to the Office of Secretary staff, as well as FRA, going forward, we should do nothing less than the maximum. PTC is never going to end once it's installed. It's a living system. And you have to get people to comply with what the administrative prerequisites are to maintain PTC. And then once you have that in place, you can then administer and monitor the operation of PTC going forward. But it's critical that people do what they're supposed to do, such as their safety plans and their implementation plans.
Which I have a question about, and if you would